Looking back at the Stronghold series, there are so many features from the earlier entries I truly miss. Stronghold 1 and Stronghold Crusader, the games that put the series on the RTS map, offer a large array of features that never returned in Stronghold 2 and in later games in the series. Today I want to take a closer look at the key features from Stronghold 1 and Crusader that I miss. Since Crusader is, in theory, an enhanced version of Stronghold 1 with added skirmisher modes, I'll be talking about both in this video, as they share the same core gameplay features. Let's dive in. One of the standout features of Stronghold 1 and Crusader is the role of engineers. In these games, engineers aren't just units, they are integral parts of the battlefield. Players have to assign engineers to build and operate siege equipment, from trebuchets to catapults to battering rams. The process feels immersive, as you watch your engineers assemble siege engines before taking control of them. This feature adds a layer of realism and strategy, as losing your engineers during an assault could derail your plans. In later entries, the process of using siege equipment became more streamlined. Siege engines became standalone units that lacked the same depth and interactivity. This change, while simplifying gameplay, removed much of the tactical and immersive elements that made siege warfare in Stronghold 1 and Crusader so satisfying. As much as I love the Stronghold series, many of the entries after Stronghold Crusader have had their fair share of bugs. Whether it was buggy ninjas in Stronghold Crusader 2 or a completely broken economic system at the launch of Stronghold 3, these issues have often overshadowed the gameplay.
Maybe, instead, these lands will suffer.
Stronghold 1 and Crusader are pretty much perfect and offer very stable experiences. The simplicity of the engine used in the game likely contributes to fewer technical issues, allowing players to fully immerse themselves in the gameplay without any disruption from bugs. Additionally, the smoothness of the AI cutscenes in Stronghold 1 and Crusader added charm to the experience. These shorter, engaging interludes provided context for campaigns and made AI opponents feel alive.
Maybe I have underestimated you a little.
Later games often struggle to replicate this level of polish, with freezes and glitches disrupting the immersion.
Message from Sir Lancelot.
As I gaze from my battlements, I see nothing but death approaching.
The moat digging mechanic in Stronghold 1 and Crusader was a small yet impactful feature that added another layer of defensive strategy. Players could assign units such as spearmen, pikemen and macemen to dig moats around their castle, creating an additional barrier for enemies to cross. This feature required careful planning, as building a moat took time, and your units were vulnerable to attack from archers and infantry while outside the castle walls. Moats also contributed to the overall atmosphere of castle building and siege warfare, reinforcing the medieval theme. Unfortunately, this mechanic was removed in later games, where moats became instant creations if you had the gold, or were omitted altogether. This left a notable gap in defensive options for players and diminished the strategic depth of the series. The AI lords in Stronghold 1 and Crusader deserve special mention. Characters like the Rat, the Caliph, the Pig and Saladin were not only memorable but also had unique playstyles and castle builds that made skirmishes exciting. Their taunt, strategies and weaknesses added personality to the game. These lords weren't just opponents, they were characters you loved to hate, and their distinctiveness added to the replayability of skirmishes. By comparison, later games in the series often struggle to create such memorable AI opponents. The personalities of the original lords set a high bar that subsequent entries rarely managed to reach. Their distinct strategies and castle designs made every match feel fresh and challenging. Another feature that set Stronghold 1 and Crusader apart was the inclusion of tunnelers. These units could dig tunnels to undermine enemy walls, providing a unique way to breach defences. Tunnelers added a layer of depth to castle tactics, as players had to balance between defending the walls or sallying forth to take out tunnelers before they started digging. Tunnelers were sadly absent in later games, which often simplified siege warfare at the expense of siege variety. This can also be seen with the loss of oil smelters in later games, where players had to carefully position engineers armed with boiling oil along castle walls and activate them at the right moment, further lessening the variety of mechanics seen in siege warfare. One of the most striking aspects of Stronghold 1 and Crusader are its death animations. Soldiers getting impaled by arrows, burned alive, or smashed over the head with maces or stones, with blood splattering everywhere, adding a visceral edge to battles. This level of detail reinforced the brutality of medieval warfare and drew players into the grim reality of siege warfare. Combined with the darker tones of the art style and the dramatic medieval soundtrack, these elements create an atmosphere that felt raw and immersive. The intense realism of these animations remained unmatched in later entries, which opt for cleaner visuals and lighter tones. A feature from Stronghold 1 and Stronghold Crusader that I really miss is wild animals found throughout the map. Hunting was removed in later games except Stronghold 2, but in this entry it felt less impactful, with hunters mainly only hunting randomly generated pheasants that appeared next to the hunting post, and rarely going for deer found on the map. In Stronghold 1 and Crusader, wildlife like rabbits and lions affected gameplay directly, attacking farms or killing peasants. The ability for wildlife to reproduce added an engaging dynamic. For example, rabbits could overrun farms if left unchecked, forcing players to actively manage them. This mechanic added depth to the castle management aspect of the games and brought the world to life. In comparison, farms in later games lack the same engaging gameplay and work more like static resources. In Stronghold Crusader and Stronghold 1, arrows and projectiles follow an arc, instead of directly homing in on their targets. This design choice made sense for the game, as it is centered around siege warfare. It allows archers to fire over walls and at unseen targets. It also adds a layer of micromanagement, particularly with horse archers, who could avoid enemy fire while taking out key targets. The randomness of projectiles in earlier games added both realism and strategic depth. Later games have simplified this mechanic, and while not every arrow hits their mark in later entries, the gameplay has lost some of its strategic depth with the loss of the arc mechanic. Stronghold 1 and Crusader remain timeless classics in the RTS genre, thanks to their innovative features and balanced gameplay. While later entries in the series have brought new ideas to the table, they often lack the charm and depth that made these two games so special. From the interactivity of siege warfare to its world that feels alive, and the unforgettable AI lords, there is so much to miss about the early days of the Stronghold series. What are your favourite features from Stronghold 1 and Crusader? Let me know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe for more historic and fantasy RDS content. Thanks for watching.